Well, thanks for joining me for today's mini talk. It's our dream here at Drive By DND to get one-to-one mini representation for our D&D games because minis are downright beautiful. If you've seen previous episodes, you know I'll be sharing my ever-expanding minis collection, going over each monster's characteristics, and providing answers to complicated questions, such as how and why I collected the minis, and why I feel they're important to have in your D&D games. But please be sure to leave your thoughts in the comments below. Today, we take a drive-by look at a monster type that is big, smelly, and dumb, Ogres. These oversized behemoths love to smash, 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 and yes, keep smashing, until everything is destroyed. But don't call them fat. On the contrary, they're just big-boned. At least that's what their ogre mamas told them. Now, let's get into it and further examine what these living bulldozers can really do. That's right, let's mini talk. Ogres are large giants who naturally enjoy spending their days doing evil deeds. They use the hides of any creature they kill to stitch together hide armor, giving them a low AC 11, but they make up for it with their high hit points. Also, their speed of 40 feet goes against any assumption that ogres are bulky and slow. Indeed, their gigantic size means their powerful stride covers greater distances than an ordinary humanoid. Overall, their skill stats exemplify the notion that they are strong of body, weak of mind. Furthermore, they have dark vision up to 60 feet, which helps them surprise their victims in the dead of night. Ogres speak bits and pieces of giant in common, which does allow for some rudimentary communication before a fight breaks out. In combat, ogres are equipped with a great club that can deal 2d8 plus 4 damage. Now the club only reaches 5 feet, but its plus 6 to hit means they are fairly accurate when in melee combat. Also, their javelin attack is useful for fighting against spellcasters or ranged combatants, and is only slightly less powerful than their great club, dealing 2d6 plus 4 damage on a hit. With all that in mind, let's take a look, shall we? Behold my collection of ogres. As you can see, I only have 2 of these massive brutes in my collection. They were given to me by a friend who used to collect orcs and goblins, and they are Warhammer models. Like a lot of my minis. I'm glad to have them, and I'm glad to cheaply acquire all the minis I can get. So I always advise, don't be afraid to do that. Getting the D&D official models is awesome, but use what you need to use. So they were painted by him, and I think I just put a little bit of a brown wash over them just to brighten them up a bit. And for these purposes of this video, I set them up in a cave type of setting. So ogres are known not to really live in tribes or organize themselves in any way, so they are going to be on their own or maybe 1 or 2 at a time. They like to collect things. They like to basically go out into the wilderness, take things from people, hoard things from people. So I had a lot of dead livestock around, different casks of wine, even some treasure over here that if players do stumble upon their lair, they should be able to find some really interesting things. Now, I only have 2, and I do feel like that's the perfect amount. I don't think, or I can't really imagine using large numbers of ogres, even in a campaign like Storm King's Thunder, where I did get that campaign, and they use ogres in it, which is really great. In the first dungeon, the Dripping Caves, there's 2 ogres there, and I'm like, oh great, I have 2 ogres, perfect. So that's just a couple ideas of how I've used my ogres, but I'm going to go into more detail about why I think they're important to have in your collection. Alright, those are my ogres, but how to use them, and as a new DM, are they important to have in your collection? In my opinion, yes, they are a key monster for almost any D&D campaign setting. That said, I'm pretty particular about how, when, and why I use them. Historically, ogres don't form tribes, they wander alone, and are known for their stupidity. With this in mind, I think ogres are best used as ancillary monsters alongside goblins, orcs, gnolls, and/or giants. An ogre's lack of intelligence helps thematically explain why ogres might be tricked or persuaded into helping tribes of orcs or goblins. This is important because ogres are best used as hard-hitting, damage-absorbing brutes who pack a punch against leveled characters who might scoff at the challenge of goblins or orcs on their own. When players reach level 2 or 3, mixing an ogre or 2 in with some weaker underlings is a perfect and easy way to challenge players who may have gotten a bit too big for their britches. For example, When I ran Storm King's Thunder, the Dripping Caves dungeon had 2 ogres who served a goblin boss, and in my opinion, that is a good template on how to effectively implement ogres. And of course, I had 2. So again, it made me feel good about having some ogre minis in my collection. In the Dripping Caves, I distinctly remember a player using the Disguise Self spell to take on the form of a goblin and try and order the ogre around. And that's the beauty of ogres. They have a low intelligence and wisdom and are therefore quite dumb, making them susceptible to spells targeting wisdom or characters who can take advantage of unique charisma abilities. Ultimately, this could lead to some really comedic interactions, and as a DM, it's one of the easier monsters to roleplay because they can only speak in grunts, say short words, or build broken sentences. In this sense, they are fairly one-dimensional, but fun to use. Lastly, while I tend not to focus too much on travel in my games, ogres are perfect for random encounters. Your heroes spot a cottage, a cave, a campsite, or hills, and if they investigate, well, time to hit them with an ogre. If the rolls go against the players, the fight could turn quick, but at the same time, it won't drag and drag, as the ogre's low AC means players are going to hit more often than not, which is going to be more fun than swinging and missing. Overall, I feel ogres are a must-have miniature to have in your collection. Realistically, I feel 2 to 3 is all you need. As I said, they are perfect for boosting the challenge of early level fights. They hit hard, can take a few high hitting attacks without dying, and are dumb enough to be tricked or outwitted by crafty players. Okay, that's it for this mini talk. I hope you enjoyed my look at ogres, but what do you guys think? Are ogres something a new DM should acquire early on, or is there a better option? Let me know in the comments below. Alright, see you next time. And remember, all D&D, all day long, all night till dawn.